I'm Austin.
And I'm Cloud.
This is We Watch
And now, our feature presentation.
This week's movie is The Monuments Men. The Monuments Men is a 2014 war film directed by George Clooney, starring George Clooney, Matt Damon, Bill Murray, John Goodman, John Jardin, Bob Balaban, Hugh Bonneville, and Kate Blanchett. Have a plot synopsis.
Well, a group of men, well known for their various fields in various arts, go over to Europe to collect, retrieve, and properly return stolen art pieces that the Nazis had acquired from various citizens, mostly the Jews, at their proper homes, so they wouldn't be destroyed during the war.
Yes. And they never say the actual name of the real group of people that are the real what were they actually? I guess it wasn't really an agency. I guess it was just whatever the special force was. There was a real the actual thing was called the Monuments Fine Arts and Archive Program. Although they were, even at the time, colloquially referred to as the Monuments Men. There were actually about 400 of them at one point during the height of the middle of what they were doing.
That's quite a bit.
It is quite a bit, but still not that many compared to the war itself.
Yeah.
So it's still a lot to do. But of course, you can't have 400 main characters in a movie, so
No.
we have to kind of cut it down into a condensing of people. And none of these people are, like, nobody's character name was a real person. Like, all of that and everything was changed, so you can't get any direct history from any of the individual people. But George Clooney claims that 90% of it is true and almost all of the scenes actually happened.
Well, at the end of the movie,
80%,
we do get
80%.
we get some photography taken during the war, and there was a lot of it that mirrored events in the
Yeah.
movie. So if he wants to say, oh, 80-90% is really legit, well, there's enough proof to make me want to believe him.
Yeah. And I think this is even if some of it isn't totally true, I don't think there's anything that's so misrepresentative that it's like a Captain Phillips kind of thing, where it's like, oh, well, actually the Monuments Men were really bad, but it makes them look like good guys. There's
Yeah.
nothing extreme like that. I mean, there will be, of course, a bunch of people who don't get any credit for the things that they actually did because they don't exist in the movie. But
Yeah, that's true.
But apart from that,
But I kind of think that's okay. I know on an individual sense, it might suck for one particular person, but the end goal that this movie shows was to just save the art.
yeah.
And if you lost one man, was it worth it? Well, like, these people who were doing it believe so.
Here we are with that question again.
Yeah.
Is it worth a person for something else?
And so I'm guessing the people who weren't shown would have still been okay with it to a level.
Yeah.
Especially because all the names were fake.
Yeah, because everybody's fake, it's not like you're giving credit to some particular real people and then ignoring other real people. There's
Yeah.
no real people at all.
Yeah,
There's
no
just
real people.
people that are sort of representative of people. People playing people who were probably other people. The one thing that it does misrepresent in a more extreme way is how the program came to be. Because it actually it didn't start with the George Clooney character talking to the president in 1944. It actually had already been going on for about 2 years by that point, and was initiated by the British, not by America. So, although it was an allied cooperative thing, But so maybe that does misrepresent that it's like, oh yeah, America's gonna come in and save the art in Europe, but
America.
it kind of was kind of everybody just as much as the whole war was.
Well, I'm appreciative of the fact that they bring in these other countries in a colorful way, where it's like, yeah, we got this kid who we're pretty sure he's Jewish, especially with that name, and he's like, yeah, we left Germany and now we're fighting Germany, and yes, I speak German, and then we got our French guy, we got our Englishman, like we got that kind of stuff, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. I kind of like how some of the way that it's structured, where and I guess you could see this as that it's badly structured, or that it can't decide what its tone is supposed to be, because it goes back and forth between like serious war business happening and then moments of goofiness, and then things like playing the Christmas record, and then serious heaviness again. But I kind of like that, because it seems like that's how the war actually was. Like sometimes it's like it's always serious business, I guess, because you're in the war and you might get shot at any time or something. But a lot of times it's just dudes sitting around when nothing's going on, and they're going to tell jokes, or they're going to talk to each other, or they're going to listen to music or something. I did kind of wonder, like, about the playing the Christmas record thing, though, because
did that really happen?
I don't know. Well, just playing the music at all, because they title card everything all over the place.
Oh yeah,
because
you must know who, where, and when.
Yeah, because there's people in different places all the time, and sometimes it's obvious, like Paris, and then it's like Belgium, and I'm like, I don't know what Belgium looks like, so it's okay, and that they do it every time just to keep it consistent. But that particular time it says it's the Battle of the Bulge. It's in snow. It looks like it's probably Bastogne, which I don't know how they got in and out of, because nobody did. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just on the other side of it or something. But it, like, there's kind of a war on.
Yeah.
So is it a good idea to play loud music so that you can be found where you are, or so that you can be snuck up on because you can't hear over the music or something?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I mean, maybe that was a thing that happened or not, but it just seemed like seems a little irresponsible to be playing loud music on the front line there.
Well, that's if they actually are on the front line.
Yeah, because
that was
close enough that they're getting, like, they're probably a little bit back because they're bringing wounded and stuff, but they're close enough that they're bringing wounded.
Yeah.
Them, so they're not far from the front. And I've said before, it's not really World War II if you don't see Hitler, although we've had examples where that is a false statement. We do actually see Hitler from behind.
Yeah.
And in a picture of actual young Hitler. But I was surprised, and maybe it's just because we know that that's who it's supposed to be, but I could tell that it was supposed to look like Hitler from behind, even though it's from behind, and there's no, like, you can't see any of what you would think would be the distinctive Hitler features. But I was like, oh yeah, I can believe that that's Hitler from behind.
Well, the first time I saw this movie, I was in theaters, and one of our opening sequences with non-Americans is whenever they're in Paris, and there's the guy who's kind of dressed. He looks kind of like a stumpier, fatter version of Hitler. And for a second there, I was like, "Is that supposed to be Hitler?" Okay, good. All right, so we're gonna give some props to this movie for not fucking up.
Extremely discount Hitler.
Yeah, it's a bargain bin Hitler.
Mm-hmm. Trying to decide where to go. It is, I guess it's a little bit of a cheat, but we also have movie to be getting on with.
Yeah.
And so I do kind of enjoy the way that they just sort of get the team together And just like Clooney just shows up behind people.
It's
and
very
he's just like sitting there smiling and
yeah, it's very kind of superhero-esque. Like it's like they were already a team and they just had to reform. Like that's what
Yeah.
it felt like.
It's like, yeah, it really does feel like a getting the band back together
Yeah.
thing more than it is recruiting.
And each person that they get is like deep enough in their own field of what they're doing. It gives you what you need to know about them. Like, oh, this person's a sculptor. This person's an architect. This person's a painter. And we don't even need an explanation. We see them doing their job.
Yeah, and we get it out of the way right away.
And I can appreciate that.
Although it doesn't ever really come back because they never really need anybody to authenticate a piece or to decide whether something is important enough to save or not. It just is the way that they go about it. It's almost like you could just send any old army dudes and say, "Oh, it kind of looks like art. We should probably pick that up," and which is not what Clooney indicates in his speech to the president. Like, no, we've got to have like people who know art so they can decide and so we can know what we need to save. And then it doesn't really go that way, except for the scene in the farmhouse.
Yeah.
And he does identify it, but
God.
that scene is so good.
It is perfect. Okay. So the scene that we're talking about includes man who is extreme discount bargain bin Hitler, and after he leaves Paris, he's staying at his old country house or farmhouse or whatever with his wife, who does not speak English.
He says,
and it's him, his wife, and 2 children, and so Bill Murray and the other gentleman whose name I don't
Bob
remember.
Balaban.
Say again?
Bob Balaban.
Bob Balaban.
Band. It's all
Band.
B's.
Balaban. Oh,
Balaban.
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 Okay.
Balaban. Balaban.
Listen to me not know words. And so they go in, and Balaban is walking around looking at all of the art pieces, and he's kind of keeping it to himself while Murray's just talking to him. And they know about this person in this house because he had to have his tooth knocked out by the local dentist / baker.
Yeah.
Who's like, hey, I got a nephew and he knows art. We'll go see him. And so as they're inspecting the pieces, he's like, they're fake. Yeah, like the gifts and stuff. And they pretty much narrow him down to being like, bro, we know you're trying to play us Heil Hitler, and the kids just fucking don't even skip a beat.
Yeah.
They're like,
They both jump to attention and
got him.
It's like,
and if that scene doesn't make you smile, you're probably a real Nazi.
Yeah. Well, and even just the way that it's directed, just that then you have the slow pan down or slow tilt down to that John Goodman has the gun out or Bill Murray has the gun out.
It's just right there on the table. Well, if you pay really close attention, you see him pull it out.
Yeah.
You see it. But they disguise that scene so well because you're supposed to be watching Balaban do the Heil Hitler thing to the children. So if you just watch behind him, you can see him pull it out and put it on the table.
Yeah.
It's like, that scene's so good.
I do wonder what the deal with the horse was about. It's like, oh, look, it's an ice horse, but we're kind of busy right now, so maybe we don't stop in the war zone to pet the horse.
Well, in that regard, I think this is one of the instances where they had to have the scene lead up to the actual event, but they didn't have enough information to really go on, or maybe they needed to kind of phony something up. Maybe there really was a horse. And they were just lost and were like, fuck it, we don't know what we're doing. This horse looks nice. I want to just go fuck with the horse. And so they did, and everything we saw actually happened. I don't know. But why are you fucking with the horse? Why?
So, yeah, I don't know.
Fucking with the horse is not going to get you unlost.
Yeah. You're not going to, ride the horse or anything.
The horse is not magic.
No, it's not even amazing, especially. It's just kind of a regular horse. Apart from that, I do like the rest of that scene where just John Goodman realizes, oh, like the trees are full of army,
Yeah.
and they're like. But
Now, at the same time, I kind of feel that maybe some proper dialogue communicating would have been good. It's like once John knows what's up, just come on, Jacques, quit fucking around. We gotta leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because like once they panic, because you can see it, it's like a little switch. It flicks, they panic, and that's when hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
Like just keep calm. Come on, we're gonna leave. We got work to do.
They oh, okay. I thought I remembered his name. So the guy that did the music for this also did the music for New Godzilla, among a bunch of other stuff. I think that's the main thing I'm recognizing.
New or 2014?
14. New.
Okay.
That's new. New Godzilla doesn't mean Shin Godzilla because it's easy enough to just say its whole name, but just like regular New Godzilla. What?
It's Godzilla 14 now.
It is not.
And new Godzilla is the one that's not out.
No.
Yeah,
It's not.
boy.
And actually, he also did the music for Unbroken.
Interesting.
So we've had him on the show more
So-
than once.
Is the French lady the same one from Benjamin Button?
Kate Blanchett, yes.
Okay. Because that was one of the things, I didn't realize it until we watched Benjamin Button, because I didn't remember her being in Monuments Men. And then so when we hit this one, I'm like, wait a minute. I wonder what kind of crossover there is between this. Because we have another whole setup with her and Pitt.
No, not in this.
Oh, that's right, because...
It's Matt Damon.
God damn it.
It really is like Brad Pitt is the only person that isn't in this movie.
Yeah.
it's everybody else.
Well, it's one of those instances where I run into the same problem with Matt Damon and Brad Pitt, and then Matt Damon and Marky Mark.
Oh, Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
I can see that a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the
But-
Brad Pitt, because some of them, like when he looks like they make him look younger, I'll fuck that up every time. Because Matt Damon, I've never seen old looking Matt Damon. Like he looks like he's
He's
late
kind of
20s, early 30s.
He's
like
kind of looked the
every
same
time.
for a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think probably the oldest that he's looked, and I don't know if it's makeup or what, but he looks a little bit older in Interstellar when he shows up at the end of Interstellar.
Oh, that's right.
But mostly he just looks like Matt Damon, who looks like he looks.
Yeah.
Because even if you go like all the way back to what is it called? Good Will Hunting. That like you have to go back about that far for him to look younger enough where you're like, oh look, young Matt Damon. But
Yeah.
you don't.
God, the government spends so much money on Matt Damon.
I know. Not this time. He doesn't have to be saved this time. I mean, he has to be saved from a landmine, but it doesn't cost any extra money. So
How about that scene? Like, does that mean that these architects went and fucked up?
I think he lied about his weight.
Yeah.
Is what
Well, like
happened.
that's why they added the extra brick.
Yeah, but is that enough? I'm not really sure. What exactly?
How heavy are those bricks?
What exactly did they do?
I don't know.
Because you can't put pressure on the pin of the mine because he's standing on it.
The only thing I
So-
could think of is you would have to take oh Lord, that requires a lot of balancing. Because I'm thinking, you have your foot on the mine, and then you would take like a super thin sheet of metal and you would slide it in between.
Yeah.
But then as you applied extra weight around it, like wouldn't you have to slowly lift him up to keep the same weight? Or is it just
it's not weight. It's not based on weight. Like it isn't it's not an Indiana Jones trap. It's just
Okay, so
the
you just have to
you
put pressure
press the
down.
pin down, and that causes the detonator to arm, and when you let off is what it's like letting the handle off of a grenade.
Well, shit, then what does it matter? You could just put a couple 100 pounds of brick on it and it'd be perfectly fine.
But it's small. It's just a pin on the top, And so you can't, that's what I mean. I don't understand how it worked, because
Yeah.
they can't get to the part they need to weigh down because he's standing on it. And if he stops standing on it, then it either explodes or not, and you don't have to weigh it down anymore.
Yeah.
So when they first started, it looked like they were building a little wall. I thought they were just going to be like, and then you step off and you run behind the wall so that you don't die, even if it goes off. But it's not what happens. I mean, that wouldn't really work either.
Yeah,
but
like how real was that one? Like that scene. Like,
I don't know.
That really
did
happen?
that happen? I have no idea. I guess it could have.
Like, did the guys die and not explain what happened? And the only knowledge we had was like one of the bystanders that was just watching. Like, I don't know what they were doing, but they were taking the bricks and they were stacking them up, and he stepped off of it and he went, "Pfft," it was a dud, and we all shit our pants.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of in a fire, so it is really kind of sad to think about all of the art that was lost, because
Yeah.
a lot of it was not a lot, but I mean a lot, but not. I don't think it was a majority or anything was actually destroyed like that. The Nero orders was a real thing. And because there are things that were recovered from the stashes of Hitler art were things like the Mona Lisa, and stuff that if it was lost, it would be a really big deal. And so, who knows which things, somebody probably knows,
Yeah.
which things were the things that we just don't have now. Like what Picasso painting was that they found the frame of, if that was a real thing that happened.
Well,
I mean, I don't especially like Picasso's art, but I understand that he's important as an artist and his art is important. So.
agreed. Well, something that kind of bothered me whenever I watched this movie. I understand that whenever there's a victory of any kind, it's normally shared to boost morale.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're talking about finding all of the art
That they
found
put
in mines,
the mine in the newspaper.
yeah. And
That's
I think
probably not a good idea.
Yeah, it's
'cause
a
now,
terrible idea,
Now they
'cause-
know you know. You don't
Yeah.
want them to know you know.
because like now the Germans are going to not put everything in the mines, or they'll just start destroying it because they know that now they know where to look.
Yeah, they're going to destroy it, or
Yeah.
they're going to move it or something, and you're going
And-
to lose it again.
Yeah, and that takes away from your potential full victory, because that's the end goal: is a full victory. Acquire everything that was stolen, prevent as much destruction as possible. And sharing information like this, because it's not, it's different if all of it was recovered and then you announce it while the middle of the war is going on.
Yeah.
But that'd be different. Like, no, like just little bits and pieces like this just make your job harder. We'll just keep it under wraps, take what we need, send it back. I do like when they find the gold, all the bullion,
Yeah.
and then they make the big deal about that. Like, that's something I can appreciate, that that kind of mentality behind people who are trying to preserve culture, and the government wanting money, because the money is what's going to win the war. People have to get paid, resources have to be bought, and so having that combined in with what's shown to us in this movie, I can appreciate that.
It does seem like a mistake by Germany to sort of put all the gold there
In
and
one
then
place.
just kind of leave it and not leave anybody to protect it.
Yeah. Behind a door that's not even really locked.
Yeah. Well, because I guess you need access to it, maybe. Because the way they explain it is that it was Germany's main reserve of gold, but they didn't really have access to it anymore, even before they found it, because they had already pushed them out of that part of the country. So,
But see, even with that, like, because we see them have to dig through the brick.
mhm.
We see them dig through the brick, and then later, after they've done that, we see how deep those temporary brick walls are.
Yeah,
So we know the Germans were putting those up. Why would it have been so hard just to have a few more of those around?
Well,
Because the Germans would still have to break through them just to get into the mine to begin with.
yeah. Well, if it was just the art, they don't need the art until after the war is over anyway, because he's got to build the museum to put it in first.
Yeah.
But the gold you're gonna need,
Yep.
so it seems like a mistake to make it hard to access the gold that way. I mean, it would have been bad because it would have been Hitler doing it, but just like a really, really big museum like that is not a bad idea.
It'd be kind of cool, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there's just one massive museum and it has like everything that's ever been super important in all of Europe in it.
Yeah. Because
So you don't have to travel the world to go see one particular thing. It's all centralized.
yeah,
It
which I
al-
guess there are bad things about too. But
Yeah, I mean, like if it was ever to burn down, then you lost everything. That would be bad.
yeah.
But
I mean, even as it is, just something like the Louvre, it has so many important pieces in it that if anything ever happened to it, then you still lose a big percentage of the major pieces of art.
yeah,
So, really, I guess putting anything anywhere is not safe. So, it doesn't. I mean, I'm sure they have very good, fire suppression systems and stuff, but you also still just have a bunch of paintings hanging on the wall. So,
yeah.
unless they're fake, like the crown jewels or something, like they're not. None of them are the real paintings. The real paintings are all safe somewhere. That would make people really. Why doesn't it make people angry? Or why do people still care about going to the Tower of London to look at the crown jewels when everybody knows that they're not the real crown jewels?
What if that's fake?
That could be.
What if they are, but they're just told they're fake,
So that
and
people
they're
don't
like,
steal
oh
them.
yeah, and we actually have the real ones that are locked up, so like these don't matter, like these don't matter, like they're fake, but it's actually the real ones.
But people believe that they're the fake ones, and they still want to look at them.
Maybe they just want to look at the design, like, oh, that's what they're
Yes.
supposed to look like. Because like I'm gonna admit, I would go see them just so I can be like, oh, in person, inspect. Oh, that's the actual design. It's not some fucking picture of them.
But then, would you feel the same way about looking at fake art rather than the real art?
Maybe.
Because
Depends on how good of a fake.
I mean, the only thing that makes the real art important is that it was painted by a specific person at a particular time, and they can't do it again because they're dead. And because people can paint very good reproductions of them that you can't tell are different. It looks the same. So it's not just about the look. It's about seeing something that Da Vinci's paintbrush touched or something. And so there is a big part of the significance of it comes from this is the real. It's real.
Yeah.
It's real. But it's not just what it looks like.
Well, I think in something like that, I'm only going to give my little bit of a perspective and say that if it's a fake, but it's a fake made in the exact same way, then I'll probably be more okay with seeing it, but I still know it's fake.
Yeah.
Now on that, I don't appreciate art as much as so many other people do. And so I'm going to not make a big deal about it. Like I'm going to let someone who's really like we go around actually appreciating art because we appreciate the talent and the passion that these creators put into it. I'm going to let them deal with that.
We're going to appreciate art.
Yeah.
Look at us appreciating the art over here. Yeah. I mean, not to take, like, if you do appreciate art, it's not to take anything away from you, but like you can appreciate the art if you want to. And I do appreciate some art. it has, and I know this isn't true because Picasso is later and other people are later, but it has always kind of bothered me in the same way that classical music does, that if it's not like 400 years old, it doesn't matter. Like most of the great art is from like the supposedly greatest of the art is like Renaissance era stuff. So it's Da Vinci, it's Michelangelo, and Renoir. It's like, but why? Why did it have to stop then? Like, why is like, oh, this is the greatest art there ever is, and people might be good at painting after this, but it doesn't matter because it didn't happen in the Renaissance. It's not real. And like, why is classical music the greatest music ever? And it's like there's just, and that's to bring it back to our to what we do. That's the same thing happens with film. It seems like, that's the reason why we grade things the way that we do, is that it's not against all things ever, because the idea that something that just because the movie that, or a couple of movies that everybody thinks are the best ones ever happened in the 30s and nothing can ever take them away, no matter what anybody else ever makes, just bothers me, because it seems like it's just so set in a thing that there doesn't seem to be that much justification for. And I know sometimes like they're the significant artists that are after that period, and even the ones in that period, and part of why they're important is because they started a thing, like they kind of invented a style, or they started doing art a different way, and so then they become significant because they're first.
Yeah.
So that's why Picasso is important, because he starts the whole what is it even called? Is Picasso surrealist? I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I'm not good with those kind of terms.
But yeah,
but you bringing it up like this reminds me. There was an artist who did a little comic strip, and I wish I knew their name. And it shows a picture of someone current, working at a like a little artist table. It's like, I wish I was good as the old masters. Mm-hmm. And then the next panel is someone from several years ago, and they're sitting at a older version of the same table, and they're drawing, and they say the exact same thing. Man, I wish I was as good as the old masters. And they keep going back and back. And then you see the whole Renaissance era, and it's the same guy with the paintbrush saying the same thing. And then you just have a caveman just being like, I'm the best. And like, I've dabbled a little bit, and from the people that I've been around, I understand the joke, and I really do appreciate the whole caveman not caring. He's just doing what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, and also it's because he was as far back as you could go.
Yeah.
So it's like that just because it's old means it's better somehow or something. And I know that isn't totally why, don't yell at us about not appreciating art. Like,
hey,
we understand that we don't. But yeah, I mean, my favorite painter is Edward Hopper, who's much more recent and much less well respected because he's in basically modern time. He didn't really, I mean, he has a distinctive style like everybody does, but he didn't invent cubism or something. And he was American.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't count. It's like he's not important as but I really like his art. And so it's like I don't guess I care as much about the history of it. Would have still been a shame if Germany had burned all the art. Or I guess the Nazis had burned all the art. Just to blame the right people.
Now, even on that, the way that this movie kind of balances how you're supposed to feel, I like how they manage to keep it upbeat enough so you're not feeling depressed, except for like 2-3 scenes. Mm-hmm. Because we have the one where Clooney's making the speech and all the other guys are sitting together by themselves, and Clooney just ends up wearing himself down. He's just like, well, shit, I'd see you tomorrow, guys.
Like, great, now I'm depressed.
And then, like, when the two guys die,
yeah,
like each one of those scenes is pretty depressing. But that's it. Everything else is either a a little suspenseful because you're not sure how it's going to work out, because they are fighting against not just the Nazis but time.
Yeah.
And then like just the whole upbeatness of like, look at what we found, we got all this shit, it's amazing.
Yeah. I do wonder about that radio, though.
Yeah.
Seems like it's pretty long range sometimes.
Well, he knows how to work a radio.
Yeah. It's like a magic radio. It's like he's there in France and there in Belgium, and it's like a radio doesn't reach that far that you could just carry around. And there's
Magic
no
radios.
like they're not talking on like regular channels or anything. They never have to like cut through the battle chatter, and it's just like they have their own clear channel of radio of however much distance they need.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that bothered me, was just how clear it was constantly.
Yeah. I mean, when he's first making the speech, you hear it through the radio from their side for part of it, and it does sound like it's coming through an old microphone and an old speaker and over a radio, but they don't really do that most of the rest of the times. Mostly they cut back and forth to whichever person is talking, or even if they don't, we hear it more clearly, and we don't just hear it through the radio. Also, I mean, there's a big compression of time going on, because a lot of time passes that we don't see, because we get through like 3 years of the war or 2 years of the war, and we only see about like 5 or 6 days of that actually happen. And so it makes it seem like the mail is really super fast too, because he like sends a letter to Matt Damon in France and he gets it like seems like the next day, and then he arrives to meet them the next day after that. And it's like, wow, the mail is fast during the war. But I do like the little, like, this is the second movie in a row now where there's just like, let's just let people sit there and talk for a while and enjoy it. Because all of the like the stuff where they get the Christmas presents and they're just sitting there looking at them and talking to each other, and even just when they realize they're lost in the truck and they're sitting there at the crossroads and it's raining and they're looking at the map and they're like arguing about which direction it's supposed to be and trying to decide. Just all of the character interaction is really enjoyable.
Well, we have good actors who actually know how to act.
Yeah, we do.
And that's important.
It's good actors. It's pretty much all big names, or at least big names and then moderately big names.
Big names and moderately big names, and that actually can act.
Yeah. I mean, I really like Bob Balaban. You don't see him in enough things, but I do really like him. I mean, the for me, the main thing I remember him the most for is that he plays the president of NBC in the season runner of Seinfeld, when they're basically pitching the show in the show. And so he plays the president of NBC.
What's the show about?
Yeah, that's where the show about nothing thing comes from. But yeah, everybody else, and it's here again we have and more often than not comedic actor not being especially comedic.
Yeah,
and not that Bill Murray hasn't been serious before. He's very serious in Lost in Translation and another thing or two here or there. But
this is something that it doesn't take Bill Murray and puts him in a character that's designed to be funny, but it gives somebody who's known to be funny situations where people can enjoy I don't want to say the stress of the situation, but he does get put in these various moments where like the climax of it will put a grin on your face.
Yeah, like the German soldier at the edge of the forest.
Yeah.
That scene is fun.
And that's something else, is because we know that's a kid. And that the kid, he's probably a deserter. Maybe he's lost. We don't know. But all in all, like, it's a scared kid.
Yeah.
And Balaban is wanting to take a piss, and we'd probably shoot him, just because that's a German, and we're at war with Germany. And then just Murray's just like, whatever, man, smoke a cigarette and chill. All right, kid, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
It's a stressful, feel good scene.
Yeah. There's also the kid, the like sniper kid in the tower, like they're getting shot at. They really, it's like, it's just a kid, like really a kid, because like Edge of the Forest kid is probably like, I don't know, 16,
young adult,
maybe,
yeah.
but
like no,
this
is a
kid is like
real kid.
10 or 12 or something, and so it's like, man, they just could hand everybody.
I
a
want to
gun.
know why he was all by himself there.
I don't know. Maybe he got left behind, or I don't know.
Because, like, I know of, like, the Hitler Youths, but were they actually dressed up looking like SS? Because that's what he looked like. He looked like he was full-blown SS.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like,
but
really?
he's like 4 feet tall, so
Like, my God.
yeah, he did. I don't know. And I guess what do you do with him? Like they capture him.
Oh, they threw him in the prison area with the rest of them.
Yeah.
Because we see it. Like, we see it when they're, like, just right there. They show up, and they just throw the kid in there and close the gate. And he's like, holding on to the gate, watching him. What did we talk about?
I mean, and like another one like that is Clooney with the German in the room, and he wants like the last bit of the information, and he's talking about how I'll read the newspaper and I'll remember, and then I won't remember you anymore, and I'm just gonna eat my bagel, and so just the quiet scenes where people get to act like they're in a Tarantino movie or something.
That's a good way to put it. We'll see, even with that, because they give us that cut before the German could say anything. Like, they cut it, and then they're back outside, and that's when they just run up, like, no, like the locals, the miners, they blew it up. They knew what the Germans were going to do. They blew it up themselves.
Yeah.
And so you're like, it's a deep sigh of relief, just... The townsfolk saved the day, thank God. And it's just like, well, you better hurry the fuck up. The Russians are on our ass, and this is their territory. And so, like, all that tension just gets brought back all over again. And you're like, are they going to find the Madonna? Are they going to get it? Is it here? Like, it's got to be here. It's the end of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and he kind of finds it accidentally.
Yeah.
He just happens to see it.
Well, I don't... Okay, so realistically, I'm pretty sure that's not how it happened for real, but for movie suspense purposes, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and those kinds of things are fine. Like, usually real life translated to movie structure directly doesn't work, because real life is kind of unexciting, and things don't happen very fast, and it's not actually really that dramatic. And so you do have to... I mean, as soon as you have something not take place in actual real time, you've already modified the truth of it.
Yep.
And so you get a certain amount of license to do some dramatization and stuff. I mean, you can go like way too far and really mess it up and have it be like, well, you know...
Well, I'm thinking
certain
about...
facts.
Like, they had the statues in that... the rail cart.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, if you got to hurry up and get all of this stuff out of it, wouldn't it make sense to try to have a rail cart that you could just run out of the mine, or as close to out of the mine, so you didn't have to carry it all? You could just load a whole bunch of it, have some guys at the end to unload it.
Yeah, why weren't they doing it already?
And then, like, because that's probably what they really did do. And that's when they ran into it. It's like, well, what's in this? And they open it up. It's like, holy shit, there's the Madonna. Fucking move.
Yeah. It looks like it must be really heavy.
Oh,
God. Like when he first walks into the church and sees it there, I thought, well, how are you going to steal that? That looks really heavy. And then they just put it on like a statue stretcher and just carry it off.
That's such an accurate way to say that.
It's too bad about the priest being too nice and letting the Germans in.
Yeah. Oh, the Germans would have just shot their way.
Yeah,
in.
they
It wouldn't
would,
have mattered.
But
It's just the thing where we're going to fake an injury. Like the priests knew. The priests knew.
and they never really talk about it, but I guess several of them, not all of them, and not Bob Balaban, because that's why he comes in as a private, which he isn't happy about, is that I guess most of them must have fought in World War One or something, because they already are military, like they already have rank, and
Well, that was something I was thinking about.
they just have to put their uniforms back on.
Like some of the stuff that they had went through, and I'm like, all right, well, weren't they? Did they or did they not serve in World War One? Because it's only been 20 years,
Yeah,
and we know these guys are old.
yeah, or at least old enough. Clooney especially. Clooney and John Goodman and I guess Bill Murray, but because they come in as like sergeants and stuff, and lieutenants, so they and I don't think they just gave him special treatment because they didn't do it for the other guy, and they must have. Well, the French guy seems to still be in because when they go to collect him, he's like painting like fighter planes and stuff, so. It seems like he's already still. Just
Well, I think he was in the military anyways.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, but he was talking about he wanted to be a fighter pilot, but he couldn't because he couldn't see. So maybe he was just somebody who worked on repairs.
Maybe, but he was still in the Air Force or whatever. Probably of France, I guess, or maybe the
French
RAF
Resistance
or something. No. Well, no, there is the French Resistance too. That's a good tense scene too when the German guy comes to the house of the secretary and it's like, because that somebody has died. He's like, oh, you have a brother, and it's like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
But how did it happen? Did they do it? What does she know? Because we know she doesn't like the officer guys just because they spit in the champagne glass earlier, but we don't know how deep in she is.
Well, now this is something that kind of bothers me. Now, because it's a movie based off real events and not actually real events, we all kind of know Nazis are bad.
Yeah.
And she's been given a situation where she can help the Americans take the art away from the Nazis. But the way she looks at it is, well, I would rather not the Americans keep it for themselves than let the Nazis have it. Because she puts up so much resistance.
Yeah. Well,
And,
because she can't stop the Nazis from having it because they already have it.
Yeah.
But she can stop it from being stolen again.
But that's the thing is, if you don't like the Nazis because the Nazis are evil.
Yeah.
And then you have the Allied forces fighting the Nazis. And the Allied forces are going, hey, we would like to get all that art back from the Nazis so they don't destroy it. Would you help us? I personally would just, I wouldn't even hesitate. Like, yeah, sure, fuck the Nazis.
Yeah.
Like, they stole it from all of us, and, I don't want them to have it. They're the one that started this problem.
I think maybe because she's lived in France for the whole thing, so she's got a much bigger dose of paranoia and not wanting to trust anybody because of what's happened already. Because even when you couldn't, there was the French resistance, and then other people in France, and then Nazis who you didn't know were Nazis who were also in France. And it made it a lot easier for it to be taken over, so in the way that people were paranoid about communists in the soup later. It's just you don't know who you can trust and not, and she's just gotten to the point where she doesn't trust anybody anymore, and it's not rational, but I don't know that it's entirely unjustified, and she does come around eventually.
Yes.
At least, so it just takes a long time.
And if that is true, I would like to know the actual event that happened that did make her change her mind.
Yeah, if she was even real.
If she was even.
Which we don't even know. See, that's the thing. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't even know which parts.
Well, I would like to think that all of the major characters that had dialogue were real people in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe that was a guy and not a woman. Who knows?
Yeah. It's just hard to know.
You know, and I think the biggest problem is the fact that all the names are changed. Like, why?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess so that you're not crediting some people and not other people.
Maybe. I mean, because like we, me and you, didn't work on it. We didn't write it.
I haven't read the book it's based on.
Exactly. Like we just watched the movie. That's all it is. We know little bits about World War II. And so all we can really do is speculate. And I just kind of want to know, what was that reasoning? Was it because they couldn't credit anybody, everyone? Was it just because they wanted to kind of combine some events? You know, like what if all of these events actually happened to several different people, and they just kind of combined them all in a set to make the story flow?
Yeah.
You know, like that could be the case. Now, if that is the case, it still turned out to be, you know, really good for the movie.
Yeah.
But
well, even as it is, like some critics complain that there were too many main characters, and so it made it muddy to have to go over here with this group for a while and then over here, and so if you had even more characters just to try to have enough real people, which sometimes do, like something like The Longest Day has a bunch of characters that you only spend a little bit of time with, and you just move all around everything surrounding D-Day, and you know John Wayne is kind of the anchor, but he's not present everywhere that you are some of the time, and so you do end up with a bunch of people, but it is kind of an unusual choice to say based on true events, but then change all of the names for World War II thing. Because there's lots of World War II movies, even recent ones, that mostly use real people.
yeah,
Like it's based on real, actual people, and so, or at least some of them are. But I mean, this isn't trying to be Band of Brothers or something where it's a real, like these actual guys existed. So, but I think it's fine enough. The case, the back of the DVD case describes it as an untold story that needed to be heard or something. And while that's largely true, because mostly nobody knows that much about the Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archives program, which now they still don't because they never say the name of the agency in the movie. There is a movie from '64 called The Train, which deals with a much smaller. Yes, I know it's a train movie. It deals with a smaller section of it where there is one train loaded full of stolen art that the Nazis are trying to get out of Paris, and the resistance in Paris is trying to stop it from leaving and try to hold it up and try to find out about the art and to get the art back. And so it isn't as broad a big picture as this is, where they sort of go all over the war. But it is a piece of the story.
Did they actually succeed? Was that a real event?
Yes. Yeah. It was a real thing that happened, and they did manage to. I think they did escape from Paris eventually, but they didn't. They only got a few miles away, and then it was captured by French forces again.
Okay.
So
well, because I was thinking about it, because that's one of the things that we see at the beginning of the movie is the guy board the train and leave.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what if that was meant to be the train? But
it
I
might
guess
be. Not. I mean, it could be. It is a trainload of art, and so that it might be that's that one little piece. The Burt Lancaster is the star of The Train. So maybe we'll watch that one day if I can get a hold of it. It's a World War II movie and a train movie. So
Double the fun.
Yes. So how do we feel about stars?
I'm giving this one a good solid 5. I've enjoyed watching it every time I've watched it. I have no direct negative feelings about anything in the movie. A couple of questions here or there, or maybe a few points I would like fixed, but nothing that really throws me out of it.
Yeah, mostly it's just historical questions.
Yeah.
It's like, but what? I wonder what really happened. Maybe I should read the book.
And there's enough feel-good moments to make me want to keep watching it.
Yeah, it does feel good. And it's not overly long. It's just like, it's like a couple of minutes under 2 hours, so it doesn't fall into the war is forever, and so we had to, it has to be just this big giant epic movie. The longest day is like 3 hours long, and Saving Private Ryan is like 2:45, and I mean the only recent one that's short is Dunkirk.
Yeah.
And it's barely longer than an hour and a half. It's like an hour 40 something, which we still haven't seen it, but people say it kind of feels it actually feels a little short. Like it could have been longer. Eventually we'll have to see it and see. But yeah, I guess all of that stuff. So I guess I'll agree and say 5 also. It's really enjoyable. And it's really surprising, like it got really mixed reviews. Like some people thought that it was good, and some people thought it was a mess, and that it didn't hold together very well. And so,
if someone wants to say it's a mess, I can kind of believe that, because it is a little sporadic, over the place.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that brings it down, because there's a few things that I'm like, okay, maybe these characters aren't fleshed out enough. But at the same time, it's not so much about those characters as much as it's about the art.
Yeah.
And we get tons of the art.
Yeah. I mean, we get moments of character.
Yeah.
We don't really know that much about who these people are or anything, apart from the sort of thumbnail sketch versions that we get when he goes and recruits them.
Yeah. Now, we do get the little bits and pieces as they progress through the story, like with Bill Murray, Donovan, God damn it, Balaban, little stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's more we get characters interacting more than we know who they are. But since they also just don't exist, then, or maybe they don't exist, then I mean, and you can't. Anytime you have an ensemble movie, you know, there's 7 main characters. You can't do that much with everyone without making it really, really long and probably having the story get lost in the process. So you have to just sketch people, or pick a couple of people that you really focus on, and then everybody else's background. But then it seems like you didn't really use those characters really well, and so why did you have them? And so you kind of have to treat everybody pretty well equally, and so you end up with some shallowness. And that's all we have to say about Monuments Men. We'll see you next time.
Later.